You'll be pleased to know this is the last time I'm hosting these awards, so I don't care anymore. I'm joking.
You'll be glad to know this is my last time hosting these awards, so I don't really care anymore. Just kidding. Honestly, I never really did.
He doesn't hold back. In fact, he frequently exposes Hollywood's elite for their fake virtue with jokes and strong comments. Just take a look at this.
And now the old-fashioned, they go like, oh, they want to use our toilets. Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns. What about this person that isn't a lady? Well, his penis.
If there's one person who effortlessly takes on the whole woke culture, it's Ricky Gervais. He doesn't hold back, and he's known for exposing Hollywood's elite for their fake virtue with sharp humor and no-nonsense commentary. Just check this out. He's made it clear he stands firm in his belief in basic biology, especially when it comes to issues like gender. While others might bend to what's considered politically correct, Ricky isn't afraid to speak his mind, even if it ruffles some feathers. He's been outspoken about the growing influence of woke culture.
Ricky G here, wellness and beauty influencer. As a celebrity, I know all about stuff, like science and politics. So trust me when I tell you who you should vote for. If you don't vote the right way, that's like a hate crime. It makes me sad and angry, and I'll leave the country. You don't
stand against what he sees as the excesses of political correctness. Then there's the celebrity world. Oh boy. Ricky's even joked about how some celebrities love to act like they're political experts, giving advice on how to vote, and threatening to leave the country if you don't agree with them. It's all part of his funny take on how seriously some stars take themselves. He'll poke fun at the idea that you should vote a certain way to avoid being labeled a hater, all while reminding us that, at the end of the day, they're just celebrities like everyone else. In a world where offense is taken at the drop of a hat, Ricky has never been afraid to call out what he sees as ridiculous. He often—
I mean, you're right, you know? Offense is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality.
Makes someone right. After all, offense is personal. It varies from person to person, and just because someone feels hurt doesn't mean the argument they're making is valid. This unapologetic attitude is especially evident when he takes on the entertainment industry's obsession with political correctness. Ricky's not afraid to tackle serious topics either. He once pointed out a legal absurdity where you could get sued for calling someone gay if they weren't, but not—
which is a homophobic law, because you can't be sued the other way around. You can't be sued for saying someone's not gay if they are, which seems unfair.
And he doesn't hesitate to draw attention to it, no matter how controversial it may be. Now, let's talk about the stars. Ricky's had his fair share of criticism, especially when he takes aim at figures like Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn, of course, has been a trailblazer for the transgender community, breaking barriers and challenging stereotypes. But Ricky, never one to hold back, humorously pointed out some areas where he felt her impact was less than stellar, like when he joked—
what a year she's had, became a role model for trans people everywhere, bravely breaking down barriers and destroying stereotypes. She didn't do a lot for women drivers.
skills. It's all part of his knack for challenging the status quo and making people think, even when it ruffles feathers. So, whether you agree with him or not, one thing's for sure. Ricky Gervais is never shy about calling out the things he thinks are wrong with the world, and he's got no plans to stop anytime soon. Ricky Gervais has never been one to shy away from controversial topics, and one of the most recent subjects he's taken on is the concept of dead naming, referring to someone by their former name. He doesn't understand why people are so afraid to disturb others or follow these increasingly complex social rules. Ricky doesn't just want to fit in. He questions why certain things have to be treated as sacred, and he doesn't hold back in calling out how nonsensical some of these rules seem to him.
Dead named her. Now, I'd never heard that term, before a day after the Golden Globes, and that was saying her old name and even acknowledging that she used to be a man. But she did. I saw him on the Olympic Games. It was
After the Golden Globes, Ricky found himself accused of dead naming Caitlyn Jenner when he mentioned her former name and noted that she used to be a man. He jokes about how woke culture is trying to erase someone's past to fit their own narrative, all while trying to make their beliefs appear superior. He finds the whole situation absurd, especially when it comes to the extreme reactions of some people in the name of political correctness. Take this line, for example. Ricky humorously points out how some people feel the need to declare, "I'm not a fascist," as if that's something you'd just bring up in casual conversation. He compares it to people feeling the need to say,
Go up to someone on the street and do that, would you? And go, "Oh, by the way, I'm not a fascist." You know, it's like they protest too much. It's like going into a school and going, "I'm not a pedo, so just forget I even meant..."
something that he believes doesn't need proving. It's a sarcastic commentary on how overly performative some people's supposed wokeness can be. Now, the situation with Caitlyn Jenner is tricky. She was known as Bruce Jenner for decades, and no matter how well-known Caitlyn is today, that past is still part of the conversation. Ricky's perspective is that while Caitlyn's transition is incredibly important, trying to erase history entirely doesn't make sense, and it's a bit ridiculous to pretend that a person's past should be erased just because someone is uncomfortable with it. Ricky also calls out the hypocrisy of some celebrities who preach about supporting certain causes. He jokes about how these same people work for massive companies like Apple, Amazon, and Disney.
Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So, if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position
to the extreme reactions of some people in the name of political correctness. Take this line, for example. Ricky humorously points out how some people feel the need to declare, "I'm not a fascist," as if that's something you'd just bring up in casual conversation. He compares it to people feeling the need to say, "I'm not a pedo," just to prove something that he believes doesn't need proving. It's a sarcastic commentary on how overly performative some people's supposed wokeness can be. Now, the situation with Caitlyn Jenner is tricky. She was known as Bruce Jenner for decades, and no matter how well-known Caitlyn is today, that past is still part of the conversation. Ricky's perspective is that while Caitlyn's transition is incredibly important, trying to erase history entirely doesn't make sense, and it's a bit ridiculous to pretend that a person's past should be erased just because someone is uncomfortable with it. Ricky also calls out the hypocrisy of some celebrities who preach about supporting certain causes. He jokes about how these same people work for massive companies like Apple, Amazon, and Disney, all of which have their own controversial issues. His point is that it seems a little disingenuous for people to lecture the public from their golden pedestals when they're aligned with corporations that don't always have the best track record when it comes to ethics or social justice. In his usual style, Ricky warns celebrities not to turn their award speeches into political platforms, reminding them that they're in no position to lecture anyone. The idea is clear: stick to your craft and leave the preaching to someone else.